I just briefly turned on Music Choice Rock, and first Disturbed song, I think called Guarded, came on, and then Papa Roach's Help. The line goes, I think I need help, I'm drowning in myself, among other things. I remember, and I actually pointed this out, this little unfair tidbit out over 20-something years ago. There's a double standard where the elite on this planet, the artists on this planet, can say any goddamn thing they please. They can talk about suicide, they can talk about murder, they can talk about whatever. They can pretty much say any goddamn thing they please, but it's cloaked in their art. It's cloaked in their music, their lyrics or whatnot, and they're not questioned because there's no proof that they really are suicidal or are this, or you know what I mean? And what's that fucking song? Is it? Oh, Ted Nugent. I actually have that on my MP3 player. What the hell is it called? I loved his song. Get out of there! Get out of there! I'm smart. I moved those. I loved Cat Scratch Fever, and one day when I was, you know, engaged in my one and only escape from that hell shelter where I stayed for 6.5 months here in Massachusetts, 6.5 months where you make the best of it and you live in denial, you know, just like I had to do when in 2016 when I 100% believed I would, you know, never have a mother anymore, and my aunt could have literally legally walked in here whenever the she pleased, which wouldn't be the case with the landlord, but as my Joe and I found out to our mutual horror, my aunt, who was was viewed now as my mother. I mean, you gotta fucking be kidding me on that one, right? Anyway, back to artists who can say any goddamn thing they please. What does he say in that song? She bothered me and I had to crush her head or something. Anyway, artists can get away with saying anything they goddamn please. They can have YouTube's galore saying whatever posted on YouTube, and they're never going to get little things in their email. Do you need help? The community's concerned, and you're not alone, and all this bullshit, okay? So it's just yet another thing in this life. We regular people are never allowed to say how we really feel, you know? I learned that firsthand. I was in a long time regular job through a temp agency, but a long time, full time, 40 fucking hours a week, regular job, okay? Back here in Massachusetts when I was fucking like 26 years old, okay? There was a guy, I was 26, he was 18. He used to talk to me. And let's make this perfectly clear, I was not after him as any kind of friggin' boyfriend or anything like that, alright? Let's just establish that right here. But he had released and given to everybody he did a book. Just like when I was in high school, we had a book where people would submit, you know, it was every 6 months, bi-yearly, whatever, you know, or quarterly, I forget. No, I think it was every 6 months, where people would contribute their poems and art and whatever. I had one of my poems published. Incidentally, it was a poem on suicide that I wrote when I was 16, okay? But it got published. The point being, this guy had his own published little thing that he gave out or whatever. And it was graphic, it was violent, it talked explicitly about exactly how the characters in the story would murder women and all that, okay? He also would talk to me about how he did drugs and how, you know, things like that. I don't know if he was doing drugs then, but how he had, you know, there was times that he, for example, licked cocaine off the floor or something or other, okay? So this was not some church-going little prissy whatever. So, maybe this was when I was a little older. It doesn't really matter. It was still before I, you know, landed in hell in California. Thought I was going to be with my frickin' undeniable soulmate. But in any case, Joe and I had been broken up. He was back with the witnesses, but he was still living for an entire year to save money with me in that apartment. And that was hell too, because I couldn't touch him. I couldn't whatever. One time I broke down and I just begged him just to hold me. You know, it's just one human being to another. And he actually did. So I was going through all of that or whatever. But again, you have to understand, this kid, this 18-year-old kid, published this book on explicit ways, and he talked about shit and whatever. He wasn't some, you know what I mean? But he did talk to me, and he did whatever. So I knew how I come across as whatever, and I wanted to basically show him that I could write, that I was, you know, a fellow artist or whatever, okay? So in the end, I gave him this, it's just words. Just like his explicit, I still have it, okay? It talks explicitly about how to, it's violent, murdering, etc., okay? So I thought that he was someone that I could trust, that I could say stuff to, whatever, or share, you know, my weird ass, you know, poetry and this, that, whatever, because he was an artist. What are you doing? And you're right? And he did the same friggin' thing. Again, we're not dealing with some church-going, you know, prissy little boy who can't handle, but whatever. In the end, he got sick at work. This is such a joke, but it wasn't a joke. Okay? It's not a joke. It's never a joke with me. And remember, I had a absolute perfect, it had been years, I believe. It had been years. I had a perfect work record at this place, okay? But with me, it just all went back to the same thing. You can't trust anybody. I mean, even somebody who, by God, the things he talked about at work, and he gave that book out, you know, that he and his friends published or whatever, and, you know. But anyway, he got sick at work. Okay, sick at work. And told the police that I had poisoned him. And I literally wound up with 4 to 6 police banging down my door, the apartment, and interrogating me, you know, as like has happened with my poor mom. Saying stuff like, you didn't go to Brian's for coffee, and he says this and that. You know, they actually obviously didn't even pay attention to whatever he'd said, because he didn't say I'd gone to his house, but, you know, things get blown out of proportion. Interrogating me for like an hour. And then one of them was even saying, she seems kind of out. I mean, I didn't even know where the little brat lived. Okay? He was fucking 18. But it just proves, you know. And he wound up sharing my letter, which again was very, that's how I write. It's not like I wrote, I'm going to kill myself. I basically was just probably talking about, I still have the letter too, my own copy, talking about feeling down about, you know, Joe had been there for a year and now he's leaving. He was finally going to move out, you know. In the witness, he wasn't supposed to be living there with me anyway, even platonically, you know. That was against their beliefs, okay. But it was words on paper. Remember, it didn't say I'm going to kill myself, okay. I even later went and reread it or whatever, but to a normal person, not Brian, you understand? Not Brian of the I've licked cocaine off the floor and I'm going to talk graphically about how different ways to violently murder women, and okay? Not him. But a normal person, he gave my letter to, of course the police got my letter, you know, and then also he gave it to the person, the manager, the whatever, okay? So that was the end of my years-long job where I had a perfect record and, you know, because I foolishly trusted this kid only because of all the things, the deep, dark fucking shit he had shared with me, okay? You don't expect someone like that. You expect them to understand. You don't expect someone like that to feel sick and then think you'd poison them when I had no opportunity to poison him. It was ridiculous. He was paranoid. He was whatever, okay? But the whole point that I made back then is that an artist can say anything, you know? You can say anything that you want as an artist. But, you know, they didn't know anything about me there, so they're going to just twist around any fucking thing I say when I was pretty much, even in my letter, even including some of my dark poetry or whatnot, trying to share with this kid. And it wasn't like I just met him yesterday. We had established a rapport over the weeks, over the months probably, over the months, before I ever would dare give him that kind of letter, okay? Then I had to hear a friend of mine at the time, male friend, who wound up, whatever, I'm not going to get into that one, but Brian thinks you're in love with him. Oh my God, immature fucking brat. You know, you wouldn't expect that from him because he would talk about deep shit, you understand? He would talk about addiction. He would talk about religion. He would talk about suicide and death and all that. But I trust that someone like that, I can share my feelings with him and all hell breaks loose and I'm interrogated by fucking cops in my apartment. Not one cop, mind you, whole bunch of cops. Literally banging down my door. And I'm left thinking, what the fuck? Saying, you weren't there to tell, I don't even know where he lives, pig. You know what I mean? Like, and they were not nice, and they were sitting there in total, in fact, I think it was 4, I'm sorry, there was 4 cops, and then, you know, I'm going to call in my sergeant. I mean, unreal. Unfucking believable, based on words on paper. Meanwhile, this kid can write this thing where he explicitly talks, I mean, it was extremely graphic and violent and just whatever, alright? I'll never forget that. Because that was the end of it. Now I had a reputation there, and again, I didn't do anything. It's not like I went and stalked this kid. It's not like I went to his house, nothing. One letter in an envelope. That's it. And it freaked him out. It's not that bad, but he was clearly an immature little brat who acts like he's so whatever, you know? I thought he could handle deep, immature shit, considering all the deep, immature, and deep, you know, deep, dark shit he had shared with me at work. Unreal. Unbelievable. Like most things have in life, though, taught me a valuable lesson about people. Okay? Because if it had been the other way around and he had given me some kind of letter like that or whatever, I wouldn't even have batted an eyelash. You know? But to him, the fact that I was giving him the letter at all meant that I was obsessed with him or in love with him or whatever. Meanwhile, it was just, you know, like a friendship type thing. He's the one that had started it all in the first place. I test the waters. I would never be saying anything to anybody if they didn't say it first. You know? So I wound up quitting my job. I couldn't have gone back there anyway. Remember, regular people, of course, you know what I mean, are going to view my letter as I'm suicidal and I need help because they can't deal with any shit. And like, then we go back to the same thing. Artists can do whatever, though. They can actually feel the way they write in their songs, but it's cloaked in their artistry. It's cloaked in the lyrics, cloaked in the music, and no one can say anything. See? Because you don't know if they really feel that way or if they're just, you know, being creative, exercising their creative chops, you know. You don't know if they really feel that way. Pretty damn sad. You ask me. Pretty damn fucking sad. What are you doing, pug dog? Shut up. So we got hit today. I have to watch the news. Yeah, if you could say, I mean, at work, remember it was temp. It was a huge like, conference center, you know what I mean? It was a temp. So I wasn't, you know, whatever, you know. He's the one that again said all this shit to me. I don't say anything to I test the waters, you know. But you can't feel sick and just because someone gives you a letter, tell the police that they poisoned you. You know? And the fact that the police got it all wrong, too. He says you're at his house for coffee. I don't even fucking know where he lives! He's just a co-worker. Obviously a little immature fucking brat who can't handle real life, you know? But I wouldn't have known that based on the things that he said to me. You understand? And I knew how I was viewed as just this sweet, innocent little whatever. And when I worked at Friendly's and became friends with this person, who actually later turned on me. She was a fitness fanatic, and people, God, could I write the greatest book. She was a fitness fanatic, and she looked incredible, okay? We became friends when I was waitressing, you know, for a long time at you know, at Friendly's after I, you know, got out of college, okay, and was living with my mom and her crazy third husband, okay? And yeah, I'm well aware it's not politically correct to say crazy. I can say crazy and still, you know, feel for him over things that were not his fault, but my cousin of the middle daughter of the normal, you know, of the mom that I still died of pancreatic cancer a few years ago, and I still dream that she's alive. If I had to live with him one day, I'd kill him. She said it to me. She didn't care, okay? That's neither here nor there. At Friendly's, I was working at Friendly's. And remember, I had started, when we got away from him, my mom and I were living in the studio apartment for a while, whatever, but whenever I started going to the gym, I wound up transforming my body. When you just lose regular weight, but you don't exercise, you don't lift weights to build muscle, you could be losing weight, but you're not actually transforming your body. So I transformed my body by literal, rigorous 4 hours at a time, 3 times a week workouts at the gym, as well as extra walking and extra crunches at home and the whole 9 yards, okay? That's why when I went from 182 to 166, people at Friendly's, including people who were jealous, thought that I had lost 30 pounds when I'd only lost 16, okay? But my buddy, my fellow fitness fanatic, had met a guy and gotten married and gotten heavy. Not obese, but she'd gotten heavy. And now I'm a fanatic. She used to be in the same kind of shape that I still was in, but now I'm a fanatic, and you know what I mean? She was accusing me of being I mean, people just blow my fucking mind, okay? I said, I learned so much. Oh yeah, she was snidely calling, you know, you're whatever. Meanwhile, she used to be in the kind of incredible shape I was in at that time. And then the manager who couldn't stand me because you're jealous was, you're getting too thin, Laura. I was 5'9" and a half and 166 pounds. That is hardly fucking too thin, in quotations, okay? Hardly too thin. Hardly. You know? No, they didn't like it. But the fact that Ruth didn't like it when she had just been doing that, but now she's married and all comfortable and doing what, you know, and putting on the weight, now I'm a fanatic. And she's being snide with me. See? People. Human nature. It's the same fucking shit. Lessons learned. You know, it's like, and with this kid, he's the one who said all that stuff to me, but I later found out, like at Friendly, somebody told me, yeah, the way you behave, people think you're like a born-again Christian or something. Yeah. Because I hide who I really am. I've spent a lifetime hiding who I really am, okay? But with this kid, when he's revealing all this deep, dark shit, because I can't remember all the deep, dark shit, but trust me, it was deep, dark shit. Only then would I have dared, in friendship, shared a little bit of my darkness with him in words, in a fucking letter, okay? And it earned me a visit with 6 cops in my living room. In my small apartment, interrogating me for about an hour. Clearly desperate the way they were behaving towards me. They 100% believed him. The way they were behaving towards me, desperate for me to, in their eyes, slip up so they could drag me away. I mean, unreal. Unreal. I'm like, what the fuck? I gave him a letter. What, is that a crime? He talks about licking cocaine off the fucking floor. You know? Jesus. It proves to me you just cannot trust anything or anybody. You really can't. This was a rapport I had built up with this kid, and it wasn't a kid. We could have legally fucked if we want to be blunt, okay? But he wasn't. He was 18, and I was 26 or 20, whatever. I forget how old it was. It doesn't matter. I have all this documented, and I told you, like 100 plus, 120, 130 hardcover journals. I have everything documented, every date, every whatever, okay? But the things, even just that I've learned how people behave. I mean, I've blown my mind. Including the other hypocrisy. You and I together, I've gotten, you're in incredible shape. You go to the gym all the time. I am going to the gym all the time and getting my formerly chunky body into incredible shape, okay? And then you meet somebody and let yourself go, and suddenly I'm a fanatic. My mom's always kept herself in shape. Remember, she worked 22 years at... I don't believe the news said anything about this. In fact, last time I checked, we weren't going to be much affected by Florence. I'm assuming this is something to do with Florence. But things can change in a heartbeat. I haven't watched the news today. But you see what I'm saying? Human nature, ulterior motives, all the crap. Like, I've beat myself up over being foolish enough to trust my aunt, thinking she was being sincere and all this crap, and meanwhile it was anything but that. And Joe later said, you know, you can't beat yourself up, Laura. You want to see the good in people, you know, because I was sincere. You understand? When I gave that kid that letter, I had no ulterior motives. It's just a fucking letter. And I have to get accused by the authority of poisoning him just as he gets sick on the same day that I gave him the letter. I mean, and somehow the events got twisted, and I had apparently been at his house for coffee. Meanwhile, I had not a clue in the universe where the fucking kid lived. And again, I call him a kid because he was a kid to me. I wasn't interested in him, and you know, I was lonely, and he talked to me. He shared all kinds of shit with me. So I thought to myself, oh, he's cool. I could share some shit with him about the ending of my relationship with Joe and things like that, and how I was feeling down, you know. Nope, apparently not. Everyone else is allowed to say whatever the fuck they please, but I do it, and I'm suicidal, and I'm gonna have cops in my, 6 cops in my living room, and, and be accused of poisoning somebody, the recipient of my letter, who I had been building a rapport with for quite some time. I hadn't just met him last week or that day or something, you know what I mean? For months we'd been chit-chatting during downtime and building rapport, and he'd revealed a lot of deep, dark shit about himself. Deep, dark shit. If you reveal deep, dark shit about yourself, I am going to trust you that I can do the same goddamn thing and not be accused of stalking you or being suicidal or wanting to hurt you. But apparently that's not the case in this life. Goes back to the same thing. I can't trust anybody in this life. Nobody. Except for my Joe. I can say whatever the fuck I want to my Joe, and he's never, ever, ever gonna pick up the phone and call the fucking cops on me. You understand? He won't do it. He will not do it. So he's at least one person in this entire planet. And actually my mom wouldn't do it either. So, I'm sorry, two people. The same two people who are the only people I want having my fucking cell phone number. The professionals in my mom's life don't need to reach me at all times. It is my fucking right in this universe. My God, if my mom's in the hospital, I keep both phones on 24/7. Marion couldn't even be reached on a night my mom had landed in the fucking emergency, and Marion was a friggin' healthcare proxy, okay? People have a right, just because, you know, I have a right to have my phone off. I have a right if I'm sick or don't want to be bothered to have my phones off. I am not obligated to be reached 24/7 by anybody. I have that human right, you know? As we've already established, I'm expected to be perfect at all times in this life, and I'm under constant microscope. Even something as innocent as my phones are off when somebody in my mom's life is trying to reach me. I mean, it's a joke, because believe me, Marion would never be under that kind of scrutiny. And she most definitely could not be reached in the middle of the night, as I tried to reach her and got voicemail. Okay? But if people don't like you anyway, they can find any reason to whatever. I try to steer clear of sharing my true feelings with my mom because she can't handle it, you know. But my Joe, say anything to him. And be confident that he's not going to fucking take anything the wrong way. Because he knows that these are lifelong feelings in me. Okay? Feelings that I don't act upon, that I've never acted upon, that I've never even come up with any kind of plan to act upon, you know? That's why in therapy, my mom has to see therapists or whatnot, and a psychiatrist or whatever, and she'll say to me, or if she lands in the hospital, why do they ask me if I want to kill myself or whatnot? I'm like, they have to. They have to, Mom. When I'm in therapy, if I hint of it being down or anything, or not wanting to be here, anything like that, they will say, they have to say, do you have any immediate plans to kill yourself? You say no, and then you proceed to be on your merry way therapy-wise, you know? My case manager at the shelter bluntly said to me, she talks to a lot of people, and it's like, there are tons of people who you know, might want to kill themselves or might not want to be here, but who aren't going to act on it, you know? something. There are people in this life you can think you could trust them. You could, even if they share stuff about themselves, like with that kid, they'll turn around and not grant you the same, you know, whatever the word is, benefit of the doubt or whatnot. You know, I granted this kid the benefit of the doubt, even based on his extremely violent, graphic descriptions in his book of the, you know, killing women and whatever. I'm not going to automatically think he is a fucking psychopath. But I give him a 2.5-page typed letter talking about basically addressing things he said, and yeah, I know how you feel. I felt that way, and you know, I'm losing the love of my, all this, you know, and it earns me that I'm stalking him, that I want to hurt him, that I want to hurt myself, and then I have to be interrogated by 1 million police in my apartment. Police who, of course, had, you know, read my letter, and they're, you know, regular people. But again, I didn't give my letter to my boss. I didn't give the letter to the police. I gave the letter to a kid who had talked about deep, dark shit with me, including hinting around. I think he'd even talked about being depressed or suicidal or something, one of the truth. You know, he talked about all kinds of shit with me. But I do the same with him very tentatively in a 2.5-page typed letter. Not some 10-page handwritten letter or something. A 2.5-page typed letter. And look where it fucking got me. Look what happened, okay? Proof. I've received endless proof. You cannot trust anybody in this life. Nobody. Nobody. Joe has earned my trust. Other than that, forget it. I actually once had a friend trust me with something that I was very honored that she would share something that, and you know, but you choose. I was disturbed by what she had said, but I sure as fuck would never in a million years pick up the phone and call the cops on her, see? Because that's me. And finding someone else like me is 100% impossible. 100% impossible. That I know for a fact. My God, even Beach Guy, who I told you I have seriously hot for, but I, you know, shared a little bit about what had gone down a couple months, 4 months prior with Foot Guy, and Beach Guy looked at me funny. He looked at me funny. He's like, well, I'm not into that. I'm not into feet or whatever. No one's asking you to be. I don't, first of all, you and I, this is just, you know, we already know that it's not anything serious. It's just whatever. But no one's asking you to be into feet. I'm simply sharing an experience with you that I recently, you know, I certainly don't base any of my future relationships or even hookups on whether or not the guy's into sucking on my feet and toes. I'm simply, but it was awesome, you know. I really don't think I would want to suck on any guy's feet and toes. I might do it if you really wanted me to, but if I'm not into it, it's not the same thing. If you ask me to suck on your feet and toes as a guy and I'm not into it, it's not going to be the same thing that I experienced with Foot Guy that I never experienced in my life, with him wanting to do it, pretty much, you know, making it a stipulation for us meeting at the mall at all, okay? But in that case, it wasn't supposed to lead to his car. He wanted to rub my feet in public, in the mall, in like a food court or something, and that would not have gone down well. There's no tablecloths, there's no whatever. Like, how did he expect that to happen? We would get thrown out, okay? But I agreed to it because I was attracted to him, and I was attracted to his willingness to meet me in a public place and massage me, you know, free of charge. His stipulation was, well, you need to wear sandals. I want to rub your feet. That wasn't going to happen. There was nowhere to do with that in the mall. as we later found out when we tried to do it another time and gotten, you know, and the mall cop put up a stink or whatever. Meanwhile, there are kids or even non-kids who will lock lips and be fucking groping each other in tongues and everything, okay?